Okay, welcome to another show or Zoom of our Earth Nouveau Hub, Exploring Consciousness. And today we're actually working with Andrew Bartzis's material, the Galactic History #1. And we are working with a second transcript. Now, we've played a little bit around with the first one. It took us 2 Zooms actually to get through that. So today we've changed slightly the format. What we're going to do is, the idea was that everybody reads the transcript and then really uses whatever sticks out, whatever subject matter sticks out, whichever word, whichever energy sticks out, and then looks and sees if they can find any other material of Andrew's that actually could, make this more complex to add. And also, how can we actually apply it to the ancient future self? Any of those, whatever comes out and sticks out for you. And then what other questions can we ask? So how can we elaborate on it? How can we expand on it? And if any questions that come up that we can't ask, then we might be able to ask Andrew. But before we do that, let me see what we've got. All right. So I would like to really, if you have prepared something, then raise your hands. Having said that, I don't even know how this raising the hands works, but I still haven't, I think I need to change my setup here, but it's okay. We only like 12 people at the moment. So you come and you make your contribution, you ask, and then we open it up for more questions. Is there anyone who wants to kick it off? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's just us.
All right, I will. I'll start.
Amy, yes, you got the big sheet.
So I had to do, this is all new to me, so I had to actually write it out and make a map for this whole thing. So I kind of get to jump around, jump.
Yeah, jump.
Do you want to?
I'm just having a
go in order.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of my questions was, well, I guess what I wanted to start, let me start with this. Sorry. The clarity that came for me was when I read about the multidimensional beings experiencing, let me just see where this was. Let me just take you guys where this was.
Give us a little, it's Transcript2. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But just give us a little intro, which is the one that stood out for you.
Okay, so it was starting with the event, 7:12, 7 minutes 12 seconds.
Okay. You want to just read a little bit? Because I don't actually. Not everyone.
Okay.
But what is the subject matter? What is the?
I think the subject matter is.
Hold on a second. Anyone who's got a weird, please mute yourself, guys, if you're not on talking. Right.
Okay. I'm actually going to start with 8:34 down a ways. And he just described the time, the Nibiru.
Yeah.
Which was really a planet. Let's hear more about the event, is what Lance asked him. And I drew this. The first part of the event was the kids going to school and they sharing technology, and then how adults experience deja vu in that sort of same way. And then my question was, is this the ancient future now? Are we seeing the ancient future now then when we have deja vu?
Can we just please?
And then it's changed at the moment. And that the deja vu gives warning for to our dream time.
Hold on a second. I'll mute Herminia.
Herminia, I think your microphone was left on, my love. You're muted, Martina.
I muted myself.
Sorry, I mute myself already. I will do it again. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yes.
So I guess the question is the event the awakening of people? Like he used 2011 and 2014 as, I took it as the event, as the awakening. And then it comes into the deja vu, the multidimensional. And then how that made clarity for me was I totally understood. I knew that I was multidimensional, but I didn't understand multiple realities. I don't understand living in multiple realities yet, but I know that I'm multidimensional.
Okay, so what is the connection with Nibiru here? And because that was of the Anunnaki, right? Where he talks about the Anunnaki. Yeah.
Anunnaki comes after that, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
So what's it? You just want to say that this is you understanding your multidimensionality better?
Yeah. This is just
came through for you.
It just helped me to realize that, oh my God, there are multiple realities.
Okay.
That I understood it through the deja vu that she gave that example to.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. Fantastic. Right. Is there anything else you want to say to what was actually said in the interview on that particular point? Does anyone else have something connected to the to that part?
I'll chime in, Martina. There was when I first heard that, I think Lance did as well, and I myself, for me, that conjured up a sense of that it was going to happen really soon, and I think all of us thought that around that sort of time that it would be well and overdone by now. But those kind of events, that there's one deja vu that I can remember having, where I had a dream, and in this dream I was flying around, and then I landed, and there was a young man in front of me, and I did some kind of thing on his chakras, and he was very upset about it, and then I flew off. And I just remember, you don't remember all of your dreams, but sometimes little bits stick with you. And then years later, when I was going into prison, as I was taken into prison, because that was a big thing in my life, it had only ever happened that once. And as I was taken into the cells for the first time, taken off of the bus and into the holding cells, there was this young man with me who was the man in the dreams, and he was in for attempted murder. And I had this hard deja vu where I remember the energy of that dream, and I could see that he felt it too, because we'd been talking for an hour, and then all of a sudden the deja vu hit, and then he wouldn't even look at me. And it was so strange. So that was like maybe 3 or 4 years before that event even happened. And that's how, for me, those kind of things connect with the dream world and the way dream world is. But it's not like it's some overnight thing. It will happen for each person in their own time.
Okay.
So the things that Andrew talked about, they are happening, but they're not sort of happening en masse as of yet.
Well, I think it's one of those things. It's going to happen for everyone in their own time, depending on the level of awareness, the level of consciousness, the level of self-mastery they are at.
Exactly.
Right. So what else is there with that, in particular with that Anunnaki, with that Nibiru planet? Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that brought something up for you? Because that we can talk about that. There's another element in there where he talks about what is the Aurora Borealis actually, and that falls nicely into that dreamtime space. Has anyone picked up on that one?
Yes. I was not in the last meeting. This Carmenia. However, I have listened at the reviewing all the whole 20 section, and when he's talking about the Borealis, he said that is the mind dream. It's like a sentient dream. space. And I had to go back and forth because the way how it's explained is this is between a time and space. However, for us, I was thinking how I can just put my mind that I want to be connected in my dream with that specific area, because he said that outright a human universal being is to be access to that, because that's where the planet receive the energy from the sun, the connection. I was thinking about how I can get there, just with my intention and connect with that energy.
Yeah, Herminia, have you bought a course, Living the Mystical Life Daily?
I just started now. I became the members because I did it last year and then I didn't follow up. Now this year I decided to do it.
Right.
And just started in that one.
In that course, there will be meditations in there that will help you with that. So when let's talk about the Dreamtime Awakening, because as we all know now, this is a Dreamtime Awakening. So, and when Andrew says here, it's the Earth streaming sentience. So the Aurora Borealis is the Earth streaming sentience, right? Now, that's the North Pole. That's the place of the ancestors. This is the place where the fetus, the new I am, if a new I am comes in, goes to the place of the ancestors, finds soul family in those astral cities and starts planning the new life. That's happening in the Aurora Borealis. Yeah. And we've got Andrew on, so we will get some more clarification on that if we require. But I just want to say that bit here that I know is we must not actually forget the Aurora Borealis, which is the South Pole, where there is that communication going on. There's the connection, because the fetus, once the planning has been done, it goes to the South Pole, which it's again dream time, everything there in the South Pole, and it starts to hold on, I've written this down. It's signaling. This is where it is signaling to the Earth Mother that it wants to come and incarnate. So this is actually, we always talk about the Borealis, but actually when we talk dream time and when we talk awakening, we need to talk about the Aurealis as well. North and South Pole, past
Australis.
and future. Australis,
yeah.
Yes.
The place of the future 7 generations.
Yes. So this is quite important. And I do want to bring Andrew on quickly. If there's to clarify, we're just saying something about the astral cities actually, but maybe he can come on quickly and tell us a little bit about more on that one.
The North Pole Aurora Borealis is where we go to meet our 7 previous generations. And it's its own dreaming frequency with Dreamtime societies and Dreamtime realms. And that's the 7 past generations. And then when you transverse the equator and go to the South Pole Aurora Borealis, that is a different set of astral cities that deals only with the 7 future generations. You have to see it as 2 separate communities, completely separate. And there are beings that travel back and forth between the 2 as they're trying to create balances between the past and the future generations. Now, as you get more evolved and living in your fetus and mother's womb, and then the next and the next until you reach the 7th generations of the future, you then get access to Hollow Earth in the 6th and 7th generations of the future portals, which allows you to then live simultaneous astral lives within the Hollow Earth and the different Aurora Borealises for generational mastery. Now, relating to what Amy was talking about, the actual event happened in 2014, but the event is a past, present, and future portal. Everyone has access to it. You didn't miss anything. It's our adrenal glands that make us think we missed something. Just because there's a portal means there's a fixed point in time in which anything on any other timeline has access to that portal. And the children are the medium in which you can't stop viral exchange of dreams. You can't stop a viral exchange of people having deja vus on the street. and another person witnessing the person having the deja vu, and the hairs on the back of the witnesses of somebody having a deja vu, the hairs on the back of their neck stand up because you're witnessing something mystical at that moment. And the whole idea behind it is you can't stop that stuff. There's no control system that can stop that.
Fantastic. So this is something I have not heard before. I don't know, you might have. Is there anything you want to ask relating to the Borealis? If this is now, you know, the North and the South Pole, since we've got the man on.
How about what Herminia was saying as to if we want to or wish to dream in places like the Aurora Borealis, what's the kind of, you know,
you make an intentional ritual to go there. That's why the North is the ancestors of the past, the South is the ancestors of the future.
You just bring it into your ritualistic process.
Yes, and when you're meeting your future self, you've got to be the fetus in the womb. That's why mastering the fetus in the womb scenario is what gives you the awareness of how to operate between the different realms.
So this is a really cool thing. Actually, I totally missed out on this one because, you know, we always go, yes, we know we have to go to the you know, to the place of our ancestors, but I actually never really thought of going directly to the South Pole and connect to the future selves there.
All throughout the mentorship teachings, Martina.
Well, I lost probably.
Well, that was also 2 years ago when we were really practicing that stuff hard. So
I fluffed through that one, yeah, and there is a lot. But you know, if you do that Mystical Life Daily, then obviously Andrew was saying there are specific meditations for that. So that's very good.
But I leave it open to interpretation so people can create their own. This is about putting self-illumination teachings into you.
Yes.
Andrew, didn't you mention that there's an element of responsibility when connecting to the South Pole?
Absolutely. What is the responsibility that to your level of awareness? To not do dumb stuff, to not have instant gratification demands, that you're going there as a being of light, offering gratitude and blessings so that wisdom and information can come to you. And you've learned to operate in that realm enough that you can begin to interpret the future fetus. So you're going to go, you'd say when you make your first journey to the South Pole, you're an astral citizen who's got temporary visa to be there and look around at the shops, the bazaars. What's the next generation of children coming in? What are they looking for? Just like in the Sanctuary of All Souls, there's that, you know, there's a vendor there. There are plenty of things to go and experience, and then you get to find the actual chambers where people go in to do fetus in the womb planning. And you might run across your own version of yourself, who's the next I am, who's going to go in, and he might ask you to come into the next fetus.
Wow.
Okay. But if you've mastered the fetus in the womb learning process, you can just pop into the next fetus. And then one after that, and the one after that, and the one after that, all the way to the 7 future generations. Now, if you're looking at some of the other teachings, we go 10,000 generations to the past and 10,000 generations to the future. That's mastering your time-space equation. That's in the Dragon Revocation.
Right.
Andrew, I'm sorry.
So no, sorry, Alan. Guys, just mute yourself if you're not talking. Yeah. Go, Alan.
Andrew, you were talking about the connecting to the dreaming mind of Earth, the North and South Pole. Would that mean creating aspects of yourself and placing them in those locations? Very similar to the meditation that you once had, and I believe that's how you operate, being
Correct.
1 second in the future and 1 second in the past.
Correct. Now, they're no longer aspects. In the beginning, they were aspects or measuring stones to see how fast and how far into the future and how far into the past I was, and how I balanced that journey. Think of it, if you lift 10-pound weights every day, after a while those 10-pound weights are nothing. And then you've got to go to 20-pound weights, 30-pound weights, and 40-pound weights. And then there's a certain amount of weight that's too much for you. And you've got to find that delicate balance, which is burning calories versus, you know, building muscle. So creating an aspect also means after a while you have to dissolve that aspect because you don't need an aspect, you can do it innately. The aspect is there to help you in the visualization journey.
Got it.
Okay. It can be the version of you that's like, come on, you can do it. It's like telling when a baby's taking its first walks and the mother are waving their hands at them. It can be a variety of images that you want to create.
Serves as a tool of endurance, building up the endurance.
The more than the endurance, the actual spiritual musculature required.
So another way of practicing that is actually writing your own little invocation, your own meditation, you know, and obviously using the word salads from everywhere. I truly do find that that works the best when you make it your personal, you know, and you add whatever you want to create in the now for the future, and go 5, 50, 500 years, you know, expand yourself really out to get a better, because some people find it, I find it more restrictive if I have to plan 5 years, but if I can look at 500 years, the energy gets much more expanded, and I get much more information coming through.
But that's a harder scale and size to work on. Andrew, would you not recommend we should just focus on the 7 future and the 7 past generations?
In the beginning of your journey, the 7 past and the 7 future are more than hard enough. The first 1 and 2 are going to be extreme challenges of dedication, practice, and then the endurance of practice, with the balanced experiences that remind you of why the practice does. Then the third and fourth become a little bit easier based off of your experiences and practices and how open you are going to be to potential past resolution. Example, a past self may come to you and say, will you make a pilgrimage to the future and make a resolution that we don't need an incarnation with? And then is it for you to take on that responsibility? It might be a soul family exchange. They might ask you to carry an object of energy to the future astral cities to give to a future fetus that isn't you. You don't have to take on that responsibility. When you're regularly going into the ancestors of the past, you're giving them offerings, you're giving them your wisdom through your rituals and ceremonies. And at times they're task oriented, but you're not required, and they don't look down upon you for not taking up that task. Because after a while, you'll find yourself just overloaded with tasks. Your real reason of being there is an adventuresome, explorative spirit that's learning how to connect to people in a conversational format. You're not on a YouTube video learning stuff, taking stuff from teachers. If you idolize them of the past, they become too much of a guru type teacher. And that's the mistake many people make when you're working with the 7 past or the 7 future generations. They're not there to step on your journey, but they are there to make the journey of people's easier if you're willing to take up the responsibility of awareness.
And part of that awareness is limiting the themes of the soul families to cross generations.
Not necessarily limiting, but understanding that you don't have a job over there. You're an adventurer. You're not taking up direct service. Your direct service is to be the living, breathing manifestation in the physical world. You can do more here than you could ever do over there. And that's important. And you're going there, again, to learn the culture, to learn the idiosyncrasies of existing over there. Learning the many different languages, concepts, thoughts, ideas, so that when you're in the physical life here, you can begin to multidimensionally think and bring different forms of balance through your words.
Well, and wouldn't you also say that, you know, I've always come from the premise that we are creating the future now. So the choices that we're making in the present moment as the I am apex will have an impact on the future 7 generation and beyond, right?
It does. When you choose to be the apex of the I am now, you are saying to the 7 past and the 7 future generations, I am making an attempt to be a first place I am in a many string of I ams during the Great Awakening.
But that's okay, no? That's not
Absolutely.
like being
it's your birthright and legacy as every I am to do that.
right. Exactly.
It's just bookend by the term awakening.
Right.
Okay, it's within a frequency and a potentiality of awakening. But there are other apex I ams who become non-hierarchical order who may assist you by offering their precognitive workforce to you. And your precognitive workforce is working with them in their frequency and timeline in a non-competitional format.
Yes. So when we talk I am apex presence, we're talking, there's only one I am apex presence in this lifetime. This is us right
Correct.
now.
Unless you're a self-haunted person,
Yes.
where you're bringing in the apex, the negative apex of another person who didn't learn the right way.
Okay, so every future generation has a different I am apex, and they are already obviously in existence, but your choice is here now.
Not everyone is on the journey of an I am apex.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Not everyone goes into the celestial mediumship, right?
Correct. And there are times you're going to connect to a future generation of yourself who's a white picket fencer.
Right.
And you have to be very careful not to step on their journey.
Yes.
Okay, to not screw it up. Therefore, you're entering their form of awareness in a very passive, non-competitional format.
Yes. So this is where non-competition, non-hierarchy and all that comes in.
Right. That's why the first generation of being the fetus in your mother's womb, that's where you learn and master that part of not stepping on the journey, but understanding the nature of the blueprint.
So this is actually something, guys, we can do 1 week when we do our Zooms. We're going to work a little bit more with the fetus in the womb process. You know, actually, we could maybe create something along those lines, right? Together. So let's park this idea off. Are there any questions around that? What Andrew just brought up and Alan?
So just about the last things you said, you mentioned, I am the only I am apex of the moment now. But as I understand it, there's also several versions of myself that exist at the same time. Can't they say the same?
They do, but they were born in a different mother in a different fetus on a different timeline. You remember all of your past, present, and future simultaneously existing. It's the entrance, and it's when you entered and exited the timeline that you've been given a timestamp as an I am with a mother and father that started you as an infinite heart that grew arms and legs and had DNA with memories. And you have the opportunity to become the apex of your DNA at that moment. So, and then you get to work in equal co-creation, non-competition with all the other versions of yourself who have that same opportunity to experience sovereignty.
All right. Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome. And then you get to seed sovereign concepts to your other selves. And that's when you go to visit future versions of yourself. You might find a future version of yourself that's really trying to resolve a bunch of karma. And you can seed the self-illumination teachings into them in the fetus journey. Like you can be one of their fetus guides. I learned this lifetime, and I'm going to offer it to you as memories to your future fetus. It's that 80% memories that come within your DNA.
So Andrew, is it that everybody has the potential to have or be an I am apex, but unless they start the celestial medium journey or self-illuminated master journey, they wouldn't be aware of it?
No, there are other journeys beyond celestial medium and self-illumination that still bring in apex of the I am as a concept. But it's still about understanding equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order that allows each I am apex to be their own individuated piece with self-mastery as their journey.
Okay.
Fantastic. Good.
I've just a question, Martina, before you move on.
Go for it,
Andrew, in relation to Carolyn's question, I'm wondering about the opposite. Would there be past I am apex of me or anybody that had unfinished business or unfinished karma, and they're trying to work that through now with the me that is here, the I am present right now?
Absolutely. This is why ancestral work is so important.
Okay.
That's why when you make the journey to the North Pole, Aurora Borealis, you're going into that energetic space where the ancestors who are trying to resolve things will become to you right away. That's like, remember when we did the hot seats?
Yeah.
And what came up from the north, the south, the east, and the west? Those were the ancestral things that are waiting. As soon as you cross over, they're there right in your face, knocking out the door, if you can see them.
Okay.
There's always a lineup of 10 or 12 things that the past is going to ask you to resolve as you, the conscious explorer.
And do they have a way of kind of coming in your unawareness or unconsciousness, and you're
Absolutely.
working?
They creep in all sorts of ways. But when they start to creep in is when they're starting to affect your sovereignty. That's why ancestral debt is such a challenging thing to understand versus haunting.
And is there any way we could recognize that, you know, that you'd actually would just know kind of that that's what was happening, and that you could stop it?
When you taste pepper, you know pepper, right?
Mm.
When you taste garlic, you know garlic. Something that's in ancestral debt, it'll have a taste of something you know, if you're
Right.
willing to taste it.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
That means you got to feel into it with all of your senses aligned to such a point where you're sampling that energy, discerning it, and not taking it on. It's like a wine tester. They test, 60, 70 wines in a day, but they don't get drunk.
Right.
Okay? And that's the
Okay.
same thing when it's dealing with the ancestral energies. You got to be willing to metaphorically taste it to know what it is, versus, is this present energy just looking to harvest me? Or is it a past energy that is so unresolved, it is needing me to give it conscious awareness energy, even if I've got to tell it to back out of your frequency? You're creeping on me like a stalker. Or beginning to insert stuff into my reality that is making you unsovereign. Therefore, I've got to break contracts, vows, and agreements with you. A lot of times with ancestral things, just the breaking of the contracts, vows, and agreements in the moment shocks the shit out of it enough to realize that it's stepping on a future journey. But if it's a really aggressive thing, it's going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back.
Yes.
And
So
that's where you have to figure out the larger form of ritual and ceremony that deals with what's there and what aspects it is inside your DNA lineage.
right. Okay. So that could be happening a lot really to us, without us being fully aware of that. We could be working on some old karmas that our older selves or past selves had unfinished and not really relevant at all in this lifetime.
Correct, but that's why there's background resolutions, like driving cars are all ancestral resolution. Every car accident is ancestral resolution. The same thing with all the mass transportation systems, the money systems. Those are all those things. But when something is directly in your space, example of, like, we'll deal with clans that are fighting each other and have done negative magic to each other, which is very common throughout all the indigenous cultures. Okay, there comes a point where the negative wizards of the past have gone so far down the rage and anger, they're looking to future versions of the clan member to curse. And you'll have to actively defend yourself against them until such a point where you go, I am the apex of this ancestral registry, and I'm denying you access as an apex, because you are not equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical order. I cut the cords in every dimension, time stream, galaxy, and universe. I reduce you to 0 minus infinity.
Okay. Okay.
Many of your meditations, Andrew, in fact, go out to the 1,000 or 10,000 generations in the past and in the future, in order to create that separation of density and to create that unity within the apex.
As well as, so you learn to master owning your time-space equation. That's roughly 10,000 generations of the past is roughly 3 million years into the past and 3 million years into the future. That's owning you as an apex. I am. That's saying it's not just the 7 past and the 7 future generations. I am multidimensionally aware to be the apex of my previous 10,000 and future 10,000. And any other I am during the past 10,000 and future 10,000, if they are equal co-creation, non-competition, we share precognitive, post-cognitive workforce, which creates the hub of interconnectivity. That was an interesting ponder face, Alan.
There's a lot to think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Might even have to transcribe this one today, isn't it?
Transcribe that ponder.
That
The words above his head in little bubbles were like mathematical equations.
That was very intriguing. Could you expand on that just a little bit more? Like what people might be perceiving if it indeed was something like that, to give them, you know, better heads up.
So the 10,000 past and the 10,000 future?
Yes. And, you know, the ones trying to perhaps, you know, set in something now that you don't want to be part of.
So the journey to accepting the 10,000 past and the 10,000 future means you've done the fundamental work in your fetus and mother's womb.
Mhm.
And you've gotten over whatever issues you have with your own mother and father. You've gotten over whatever issues you have of being a heart that's going to be burned, that's going to born, that's going to have a first breath, and you're going to connect to the will to live.
Mhm.
That's in the sanctuary of all souls. And once you really master those particular aspects, getting to the second, third, and fourth, past and future generations just require the endurance of enthusiastic practice. And once you remain in enthusiastic practice, getting to the seven past and the seven future is really about your rituals and ceremonies of raising your frequency enough to become aware of what's trying to get into your frequency, and then creating ritual and ceremony that offers precognitive healing to them in such an innate level, they won't need to negatively enter your frequency. Now, there will be situations where something tries to negatively enter your frequency from, let's say, 13 generations in the past. Well, at that point, you have to learn to not give it battle space. Once you give it space, you've already succumbed to exchange of energy to it. This is why spiritual courts of equity are so vital. There is a medium between you and them and the exchange of energy. And therefore, anything that's trying to get into you, you put it in a spiritual court of equity, a multidimensional, multi-layered spiritual court of equity. And if oftentimes things of the past will try to project at you from 25 or 30 different directions and angles. And you put all of them into concurrently running spiritual courts of equity until you've entrapped the many projections it's sending at you. And then you assemble into one master court of equity in all the different time, space, locations this single entity is projecting at you. You then merge it all into one being and break contracts, vows, and agreements, or expose it for what it's doing to the ancestors. And the revocation AIAS in the Living the Mystical Life Daily specifically talks about that process.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Learning to use the spiritual court of equity as a sheriff's tool to projection, okay? But you can't be Wyatt Earp walking around hitting entities on the head with your gun and putting them in jail, okay? That's why a lot of people that use the blue flame, they scorch and burn everything that tries to get into them. Then they end up killing their own angels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but you have to use it based off your intuition. And then there are going to be desperate things from the past that are trying to connect to you, and you will misinterpret their desperation as attack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is
there, go ahead, I'm sorry.
This is where you can use the power of hyper forgiveness, universal focus of forgiveness. So no matter what they're doing, how negative it is, the universal forgiveness can cut through the desperation.
Makes sense.
Can we not use our spiritual court of equity to limit the amount of distortions of these energy exchanges with other beings?
You can, but inevitably after a while, you're going to have so many concurrently running spiritual courts of equity, your I am apex is going to get overwhelmed. And you do have to resolve some of these. Like right now, I have about 80 beings suspended in 10 million spiritual courts of equity. And I know in a month from now, I'll go and clear them all out. Okay? But they need a month.
Like
they need that month in suspension for my energy of what I'm working at right now. It's like putting them in timeout.
Right.
Because there are things that you can do in the spiritual court of equity. You can ask the ancestral teacher spirits to come in and act as your teacher spirit to this thing that's projecting on you. The ancestors love it when you do that shit. Oh my God, you just give them a task that can help the future. That's why that peacekeeper and peacemaker energy is so vital. Imagine if every spiritual cord of equity you had a master peacekeeper and peacemaker in it.
This is why those hubs of interconnectivity are so important too, because, you know, we don't have to do it on our own. We just have to weave the web and instigate it and give them the task, you know, and I think we often forget about that.
Yep.
What did you call them again, Andrew? The master what?
Master peacekeepers and peacemakers. Yeah, or you're just regular peacekeepers and peacemakers. You know, there's a variety of terms that I give it, or the unvanquished great dreamer of peace. That's another terminology there.
That's the combo of all of them.
Yeah.
So once you let them stew a little bit in those spiritual cords of equity, and you say you're going to get rid of them finally, how do you do it? You just say, time to go now. It
depends on their negativity.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's just a universal flush down the toilet. You know, you're a turd, you're gone. Mm-hmm. And you go back to yourself, and I train wreck all the energy back on them, which usually crushes their capacity to reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
It's their own energy. I'm not putting any of my own energy into it. And then there are other times that I'll attach several hundred teacher spirits to basically go and metaphorically haunt them to do the right thing. Okay.
Fabulous. Well,
and then there are other times you get resolution just in the suspension.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is not giving it battle space. And that spiritual cord of equity acts as the medium where those sometimes they just want to be heard.
Yes.
Okay. And just having that month of something listening to them is enough.
It's that acknowledgement. The healing can happen just through pure acknowledgement, isn't it?
Correct. And if they're really super negative, I'll go in there and I'll use some of my really powerful rituals and ceremonies, see if I can get to their original universal fetus and womb energy, just like in the universal union, communion, collective conscious, right? Negotiate direct with that fetus and not the miscreant that's in front of me.
The miscreant. Fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Andrew. Let's move on. There's in that transcript number 2, there's a lot about air cities as well. And we have Matthew wanting to actually ask a question about the air cities.
Well, Andrew, thank you for that, mate. That's going to give me a lot to ponder for a long time. When we go back to the transcript of the Galactic History, you talk about the Lemurian Air Cities. And it was interesting for me to listen, because I haven't listened to those for over a year, and you talk about the mechanics of them. And there was a video, was it in China? There was one of the Lemurian Air Cities was captured on video.
Yep.
It looked like...
and one in Africa too.
And Africa too. And they looked like they had like angels on them. They looked like beings with wings and trumpets. And
no,
so
they look like cities with buildings coming out of them.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one as well. Yeah, and I'm sure it looked like skyscrapers, and it looked like there was a being with wings, and then there was these trumpet sounds, quite spectacular. So
that's a different one.
My question is to you. Could you kind of describe to us what those videos are that we were seeing and what their function was?
To do exactly what they did, to trigger people into perceptions.
That was it, just to be there at that time.
Not fake, exactly.
Wow. And are they still functioning now? Because you said that they have, that they would unmanifest their bodies and they would have access to anywhere they wanted to go into the universe. And so that obviously it's space and time.
So once the city manifests for 1 billionth of a microsecond, you are considered an incarnated being and then can leapfrog to an ancient future. Remember, they're always looking for a time-space location in which they can have an anchorage. Mm-hmm. And once they have the air cities is what they can do, is they can, and then they could take trillions of beings out of the past and guide them all to that one air city that's manifested for 1 billionth of a second, and instantly transfer trillions of beings, leapfrogging them into an ancient future, into another air city. Remember, the majority of the Lemurians, they're moving forward in time because there's a time erasure wave erasing their past as Lemurians ever in existence.
That was going to be my next part of the question. Yeah. So is this what we're seeing, is them trying to give their own timeline resolution?
Correct.
And we're just seeing that in our own time-space reality.
But they are our ancestors. That's why they can have anchorage here.
Yes.
We are the resolution to that time erasure wave.
Do they know that?
Yes, they do.
Mm.
Yes, they do. It took them a long time to understand it, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with the Atlanteans.
And that was a very different expression, wasn't it, Andrew? The Atlanteans.
Yeah, it was a very different expression.
Yeah. And even those guys came to understand that this was the resolution. Wow.
Yeah, it took them a really long time. Now the Atlanteans were very arrogant,
Mm-hmm.
very, very arrogant and very vain. And it took them even longer to accept that the time erasure frequency was targeting them and the many potential thems, that they had to accept that they created that.
Mm.
Okay. They didn't want to take responsibility to what their part in the time wars were.
And how does that connect to what we're experiencing today with the coronavirus?
This is why there's a time traveling, multidimensional karmic resolution virus.
So is it all of those beings that weren't able? Sorry.
Many Atlanteans seeded themselves into the Earth-based timeline between 1200 AD and 1920, illegally.
Yeah.
And they went into physical bodies in attempts to retain their great awareness. And those are the people the virus is seeking out.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, that was the missing piece.
Yes. It also goes back to the Dragon webinar 2 when it's Genghis Khan hunting down the great offenders.
Oh, okay. And it's the great offenders that got away, or the hunters themselves?
The ones that hunters that went and got the offenders, the ones that hid in worlds, pretended to be light beings, but didn't tell the rest of their devotees, followers, they created very negative energies in other places and spaces.
Interesting.
So we've got a question here. If these air cities, are they all Lemurian air cities?
No. There's Lemurian, Atlantean, and several dozen other species that they've shared air city type technology. Basically, an air city is a 6-dimensional light creation, a construct of light. And you can easily project your hologram there, and that's what it's designed for. So even if you're a third density being, as long as you can do basic mental projection, you can enter the air city and have access to the greater technology.
So are we doing that through the unity consciousness drive that is within our technology?
No, the unity consciousness drive is separate. It's something that's the engine of Earth. It has nothing to do with this.
So, okay, so there is a unity consciousness drive in the air cities, and there's one in Earth.
There's no unity consciousness drive in the air cities. It is the unity consciousness of the air cities when they're in conjunction and leapfrogging. It's when the many millions of billions of beings that are in the city to make a microsecond of manifestation and then open a portal from the past and allow their beings to leapfrog into the future.
And they just need one moment of unity for that.
One moment of the unity in the people in the city who are sharing the technology of the city that makes it very easy for unity to happen.
Wow.
Does our particular light body DNA determine which astral city we would go to?
Well, astral cities and air cities are two different things.
Oh, okay. What's the difference?
The astral cities exist on the astral realms. The air cities can exist in any realm that they can make an anchorage into, any frequency of time.
Okay.
So it can
What are the crystal cities?
Those are cities on the surface of worlds that were generally used as offensive weapons.
Thank you.
Okay.
So Andrew, I have a question. Then you spoke about the event itself and the time period of 2011 to 2014. And so, we had the prime creator audit and all of that. So what's the mechanics of what we're actually experiencing now? Because obviously we still have free will and this can be extended. So what was it that was resolved at in that time period that is different to what we're resolving now?
So that is between the prime creator and forced evolution as a system that's trying to parasitically take over the prime creator position.
Right.
So it's not really about us individually as much as it is as the faction that has the grand journey of trying to take over the prime creator's position.
Okay.
That's what the 15 multidimensional beings, that's why there was a mass audit. And it was obviously to free us, but the whole point of the 15 multidimensional beings and forced evolution was to entangle humanity in such a disastrous, uncreational situation over and over that the prime creator had to pay a lot of attention here. And the more it paid attention to here, the more they could perceive through their technology of how it actually functioned and worked.
Right. It needed to create resolution, therefore they got to observe.
Yes.
Clever.
Very cool. Now, lovely people, let's get back to transcript number 2. We've got the man here. So any questions? We've got lots of other stuff going on. What did you have prepared that you would like?
I gotta take a break for just a so I'm gonna go get something to drink. I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Okay,
so
cool.
go on with your transcripts.
Thank you. Nice to have him here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
So make sure you got
Wonderful.
your questions now. We're going to
Yes.
make the most out of him, you know.
A
Yeah.
good question Martina might bring up, asking him to clarify Nibiru, because it seems like many times it's been brought up and that it's not a good thing, and they keep trying to put it out of our reach. So maybe that might be a good thing since we brought it up in the group and started talking about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Nibiru is one of those subjects that keeps coming up again and again for every new generation of awakened people, or you know, it keeps coming up. But you know, Nibiru was one of those things that was it was a real planet, wasn't it? And the interesting thing about it was they had to have a dimensional drive as opposed to a unity consciousness drive, and that's how they survived. But they were victims just as much as us, weren't they? They were the ones that were brought here.
Yeah.
On purpose in Nibiru, and obviously it's a free roaming galactic, it's a free roaming vessel. So if ever it passes into any sort of solar system, it has a gravitational effect, so which can cause destructions. So I think the matter of the fact was that was instilled into our technology and our memory in order for that uncreational process to be possible through our own creation of fear, but that's not a possibility anymore.
Yes, all of that. And if there are any specific other questions, then of course we know that they had to come here, you know, they were lured into coming here. And then also they could only come here because of having the soul codes with the earth and everything. And I think we're talking 480,000 years ago. Obviously taking all those, or 25 million years ago, actually. Andrew talks about 25 million years ago. If you read the Earth Chronicles, they talk about 480,000 years ago. So that could be an interesting, you know, question to ask, you know, how, but that's all part of this time war. And
maybe even the state of Nibiru now, and what the Anunnaki are doing right now, how they're experiencing this particular reality.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's keep that question for him. What other stuff do we have? Because there's more stuff in there. Because I really want to get that transcript done and over, so that we can start with the third one the next time. We did the Lemurian Air Cities and everything.
Martina, there is also a biomechanical suit.
The biomechanical suits, yeah, versus
the cloning.
Yeah. If you have any questions, keep them ready for Andrew.
I don't have any particular, but I just thought it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. What else have you guys prepared? Yeah, Ticharia, thanks, John.
For me, I would like to know about the sacred geometry cities. I always thought of sacred geometry as nature. I never thought of them as a grid over a city.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it's to prevent dream time. So I wondered, why do they want to prevent dream time? And maybe that question's already.
Well, it's to prevent unity dream. Amy, but I'm sure I'll go into it more. It's to prevent us dreaming into unity. So they harvest it and we're put into these fixed dream times, domination and controlled deep dream times. But he'll expand on that much better than I can.
Yeah,
it's
so
also
I wonder.
to do with propaganda as well, to be able to control the narrative of the awakening.
Fantastic.
So how do we
figured out to raise his hand too? So let me ask you your other question, and then we take Sean. Yeah. Was there another question before we take on Sean? He's got the answer. Off you go, Sean.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm like, oh, somebody is putting their hands up.
Wait, I gotta unraise my hand now. All right. Sacred geometry, my impression of it is just like an infinitude of other things in our experience. It's just a tool. And so it can be used by nature, like you were saying, Amy, and it can be used by forces for neutrality or for good. And in our experience, it's been overwhelmingly used in sacred geometry cities as a tool for domination and control.
And if you look at any city or any town, or if you look at a picture of the Earth at nighttime from space, and you look at all of the lights and the roads and the way, you can see the geometry in that. It's capturing energy, moving energy on many different dimensions and levels.
Right. So it's the sacred geometry has no intrinsic nefarious properties. It's the way it's been used and who is using it that has it giving it those characteristics.
Kind of like what we said about the womb chakras of Earth, whether you put something good on top of it, then it breeds more good, or Anunnakis in this situation were brought with technology that was nefarious on top of those chakras and created mass destruction weapons.
So anything to disrupt the Earth's ley lines and the energy. So every single road, every light outside, is part of that. It's I also thought, oh, it's so much more. It's like, oh, geometry, signs and everything, and it's actually not necessarily that. It could be a speed bump, that has a particular, purpose of throwing us out. So it's really that simple at times, to look at it from that perspective. Any city, because remember, before the Industrial Revolution, there were no cities. Everybody was living, outside in their little bubbles of reality. So by bringing everyone together into the cities, this was part of creating that sacred geometry disruption.
And is the idea, Martina, for energy harvesting, is that what it's all about in the end? To get the people in together, have the sacred geometry, and then you can harvest the energy from that collective in the cities.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Mm.
There was one thing that I noticed on that was being put out was Elon Musk has been shooting up 60 satellites. What is it, a month? I don't know, but he's put up like 12,000 new satellites within like the last 6 months or something. It's crazy. And so they did kind of a visual of what it might be. And my first thought was that sacred geometry encompassing Earth, and so that gave me thought of what layer now is it going to be tapping into, because it's a fairly new global new outside parameters. Anyway, I don't know if anybody has anything on that, but it seems like it's echoing what you're saying with the sacred geometry.
It's like, I think with any false light technology, we have the capacities to out-create it, to out-plan it. Just like what we were talking before, but doing the fetus planning, working with the ancestors in the past and in the future. This is where we are directing it. This is where we are creating, where we're planning. Yes, there is domination control is planning other stuff, but we are out-planning them. We're taking back the power, potency. Are you back, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm back.
Do you want to say something more to sacred geometry cities?
Well, you guys pretty much got it. There were cities before the Roman times. There was always been cities. The key was to get the agrarian society, majority of the population out of the agrarian societies into the cities so that harvesting could be done on a mass scale.
And is that through Dreamtime? Is that through Dreamtime? Is how they
Ritualistic ceremony, dream time, whatever methods that were being done at the particular time.
and what do they? So I don't know. This is just my visual that I get when we talk about that. Like, so you said something about the cities prevent Dreamtime, global Dreamtime. So what are they doing with the dreams? Why are they messing with our dreams as we're dreaming?
Absolutely. That's
And
how
I know
they
has to do with spiritual hygiene. Yeah.
That's how they change you in frequencies of time. You can't connect to the natural things that you want to dream with, the different soul family members. They give you visitations, completions, teachings. It's like an energetic cock blocking. Like, you ever been with a friend who always steps in front of you for meeting somebody? Okay, that's what the system does.
Wow, that's amazing. Like that.
Pushes you to the wrong people. Yeah.
Write that down. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, cock block.
Yeah, or it introduces you to the wrong person. Okay.
I don't know. That just blows my mind because it's unknown to me. It was just until I met you, and I'm like, what is this? Like, I thought all my dreams, and I have books of dreams that I write down. I'm like, I got to go back and read them. Wow. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, and this is the connection again, the awakening is happening in dream time. Just like we're planning our fetus, we're planning our life in dream time. Everything is fucking dream time. We are actually we are dreaming beings, right? It's all that disruption, and it's that simple. It's the time, it's having a job, it's being in a city, it's being with electricity, you know, all of that. It's that simple. It's not mystical, Amy. I know it threw me as one thing. Oh, it must be something mystical. No, it's not. It's very much like down to earth.
Dreaming is how our precognitive workforces meet and understand there's other versions of us who are on the positive path. And when you have a system of harvesting, it can literally prevent a precognitive workforce interaction. Stop you from meeting your other precognitive workforce or postcognitive workforce.
And that's such a cool way of actually looking at it, because we often get so sidetracked by this reality, you know, by the people around us, and they are actually the least of our problems. It's such a bigger perspective to adapt, isn't it?
Well, in all reality, the people here are our biggest problem. It's not the people of the past or the people of the future it's the people here now that are messing the majority of it up.
Yeah, I'm talking about the people like in our personal environment.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all the parts, shards, and avatars that they have, their entourage in the back. Up, down, left, right.
Yes, no true love for you. That's a good one, Casey. That's a good thing the system wants to do. Make sure you don't find true love. As well as introduce the concept that there's only one love for you. And then to propagate it through light worker word salad. There's only one. No, there's an infinite amount of loves for you.
Good. Fantastic. Now we were before when you went away, there are some questions with regards the Anunnaki and Nibiru. We know that it's a real planet, and we know sort of the history. What are the guys doing now?
So in that reference, you must understand that was done in 2013, before a lot of the awakeners broke down and went back to sleep. So just like we've had the Q awakeners break down and are falling apart because they've divulged that they're no longer parts of society because they've been labeled XXX or X for whatever reason. The PSYOP that was done in 2013, 2014, 2015 was just repeated in 2017, 2018, 2019. Now, if you guys listen to my material in 2017, I called it the year hope dies. Does anyone remember that?
Yes,
that's
I
the
do.
mark from the first attempt at the psyop. Now, Nibiru as a planet is real, and it is destructive, and they keep trying to bring it back into reality, the negatives, because if you focus on it, you will bring that planet back. And what the positives have done has kept pushing the planet into other places, spaces, and times, because our dumb ass is recreating it out of a destructive concept. There are many Jehovians and Abrahamics who want Nibiru here, because it validates their religious concepts, even though it'll be a destructive world and give it powerful enhancements to the negatives. We do create our reality, and if we start focusing on the destructive concepts like bringing Nibiru back, then it will show up into our reality. And it has re-shown, we've remanifested it dozens of times. They just put it in a time-based suspension, so we can't do that anymore.
Any questions on that? Seize the moment.
Are there any
Okay,
other concepts, Andrew, similar to that?
Yes,
I mean,
there are other destructions that humanity brings back because it gets brought up into conspiracy theory. Yes. That's what you focus on, looks back at you. And if there's a certain population that begins to look at XX or X destruction, it becomes to be part of the general humanity's potentiality.
And this is why, like, if you introduce that into religion, because so much of the Western society isn't focusing on prayer or active prayer, but if you bring that into a religion, then you can focus people who are prayer orientated into miscreation.
Correct.
It's very strong and powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
And repeating the past.
Exactly.
I have a question. So Andrew, so now that the planet is in suspension, does that mean that they're no longer traveling throughout the universe?
No. It just can't, we just can't recreate it here. It can still do what it's doing. It's still a planet. It still has things. Actually, Nibiru has self-destructed itself many times, and we brought it back into existence. So technically, it's a resurrected planet. Okay, it has its own strange resolution. But it's still able to do stuff. It just doesn't interact with our timeline.
I see.
Okay, it's one of those things that cannot interact with the chocolate souffle, because if it does at any point in time, it'll make the souffle crash.
So does that mean it will never come back in our reality?
No. We just have to go through the awakening first, and then we'll figure out how to deal with that as a different form of resolution, because they're intimately intertwined with our evolution.
I see. Thank you.
Sean, you want to say something?
No, I was just, Casey was saying like melancholia, and I was like, exactly. And then in case other people didn't understand what that means, it's a 2011 movie, which in my opinion is like a big budget dark magic spell attempting exactly what Andrew said, to try to like trick us into dreaming it back into our reality.
Okay.
The planet.
So Andrew, has the coronavirus reached the Anunnaki yet?
No, it's reached out to thousands of different species, well beyond our solar system.
Really? Excuse me.
Okay, good. Next topic we've got here, there was one thing, which is what is a clone versus a biochemical suit? This was a subject matter there. Has anyone come up with any more questions on this one? Or any other questions for that matter? What you have prepared. I don't want to interfere. Any other questions?
I would like to ask a question about the 15 multidimensional beings, if I could, please. Okay. So Andrew, you had mentioned that there were about 4 of these beings remaining in our reality now. Is that correct?
There's 2 left now.
2?
2, correct.
So which are the 2? You had mentioned in the Sean Stone interview a while ago that there was one being that was the Rothschild. And in this particular show, the second one here, you said that the Arab countries, all the Arab families is one being. And there was another one you mentioned that there was one that was 18 million of them spread out throughout the world.
That's been greatly reduced too.
And then I'm thinking that you had mentioned only once I've heard you said this, that one being was in charge of South America. And that being is a private person or citizen or a collective. I'm not sure.
An ancient oligarch.
You've never talked about that particular one. Is that one still here? And could you talk about him a little more, if you can, please?
Talk about him.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can't talk about him.
Oh, okay. Is he still here though?
Andrew, is this so Andrew, is this the one that's like all manner of despicable beings all in one collective?
It's forced evolution in all of the concepts rolled into one.
Yeah. Enough said.
Yeah.
So which are the two that are remaining here?
The Rothschilds and the one in the South America, in Antarctica.
I see. Okay, that explains. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
The infrastructure and apparatus in which Hollow Earth puts its control over the surface. Now, there are aspects of the two remaining multidimensional beings who are basically employees of the Hollow Earth Corporation. Remember, the whole point of multidimensional beings was to start the grand farm so that they could observe Prime Creator coming in and trying to fix the many mistakes. The more they were able to observe Prime Creator through their technology, the more attempts they could get at service to self-ascension or aggressively taking over the galaxy and becoming the parasitical Prime Creator. That's the multidimensional beings, that the 15, that was their goal from the very beginning. To be the first ever parasitical taking over the galaxy. Not owning it.
So what percentage of beings do these two represent? Sorry, my internet's coming and going. If that's been answered before, I apologize.
Maybe 3% now.
33%. Right, thank you.
And are any of those going to go through the awakening, Andrew?
So the previous 13 have gone through a variety of awakenings, and the Prime Creator invited 2 of them to actually come and join him. And they said, I can handle it. And within a galactic month, it was too much overwhelming for them to do. And they went on to the 18th galaxy to become part of the collective of Prime Creators in the new galaxy. Because the Prime Creator has many responsibilities beyond awareness.
Is that galaxy or the new universe, Andrew? Because
it's a galaxy that has a portal to the new universe. That's what you have to understand.
Oh, so they go from one to the next.
You come to this edge of our galaxy, find the portal that's just outside of the Earth star system, go to the new galaxy, which is a new creation, and then you're going to have to wait until that galaxy grows to a certain level, and then there will be a portal to a new universe.
And is this service to self in essence, or forced evolutionary universe?
It will start out as a non-free willed universe that allows the expression of forced evolution to be a fundamental part of it, but it won't be all of its expression. It's going to be broken up into many different zones. So the different immigration aspects from different learning sects can come and have a bubble of space in which they're very familiar with. And then there'll be a moment where it converts to 100% free will, like our galaxy did. And then it's going to be like the Old West at that particular time. That's why there's going to be a collective of Prime Creators to deal with that new potentiality.
That was my next question: was are there measures in place to protect us from the potentials of that galaxy during our greater awakening beyond our awakening?
Our galaxy will no longer use ancestral debt as universal law. And that's the protective layer. So their ancestral debt can no longer affect us, other galaxies or universes.
Ah, wonderful.
The creation of the 18th universe, could you say that it's part of the remedy and resolve to remove all the hairball from the other 17 universes?
Absolutely, yes. It's a direct byproduct.
And part of the bifurcation process. As the fluidic free flow of souls come in, that soul migration, there will be that free flow emigration out, and most of it has already occurred.
I wouldn't say most of it. A good portion of it is bottlenecked because we haven't gone through our awakening here.
Okay. And just help me out. Part of the process of the great awakening, of the remedy and resolve of being of self-mastery, no good deed goes unpunished. So I'm just kind of wondering, what kind of blowback can we as the individual expect?
Nothing if you're in self-mastery, self-illumination, self-healing, self-nurturing, self-love. Because you will understand that your good deed, whatever pushback it is a form of resolution from others who don't have resolution for themselves. And we can use our precognitive workforce to create resolution for them so that the pushback that comes to us is nothing more than a fart in the wind. As multifunctional beings, we can be prepared for the pushback and that's a cattail. So we can be prepared for that pushback, which is what forced evolution does. It thumps its chest and it says no good deed goes unpunished. And it's trying to make that a universal law we all believe.
But we can say no to karma. We can say, fuck karma. I'm out of here.
Exactly.
So there's another element in this transcript where we actually talk about resistance-free Earth, which fits in nicely here. So I think we can all say that we're all members of resistance-free Earth.
Yes.
By doing the work, we're obviously countering everything that we've just been saying. We're working with all of that. Are there any other questions that you guys have regarding resistance-free Earth? What we have in this transcript basically is people working in unity for the greater awakening, putting aside differences, cultivating forgiveness no matter what has gone before. We always talk about forgiveness, claiming one's sovereign free will, ridding ourselves from the false soul families that have been force incarnating with us. Are there any questions around that?
Oh, I would love to add on. I'm sorry to take up so much time, but I have so many questions while Andrew's here. So Andrew, it's obvious to me when we talk about resistance-free Earth, that's not just those of us that are here, it's all our galactic brothers and sisters as well that work with us. And
it's those that have incarnated here and have a significant portion of their avatar invested into the resolution here, because at some point time travel greatly affected their soul family or directly affected them. There are beings who have no idea that Earth exists and that there's a time travel war and uncreational events. Therefore, they're not involved into this. So it's about anything in 500 degrees of separation that is sharing the DNA of negative time travel, ultimately. So resistance-free Earth, a part of you had to have been involved in some way, shape, or form, even if you were just a protozoic life form on another world that got erased by the Atlanteans. Okay? Your experience was still erased, and that micro experience still allows you to come in and be a potential resistance-free Earth agent. And there's not just resistance-free Earth, there's resistance-free Mars, free Saturn, resistance to any of the 66 planets in the Galactic Ascension machine. And then there's resistance-free solar system too, which is then allows other species who've become aware of the time travel wars through spirituality and technology to then set up technological interference systems that allows them temporary entrance in and out of the Galactic Ascension machine.
That boggles my mind, Andrew, because my linear mind tries to imagine the Galactic Ascension machine and all of the linear times as to which pieces and parts came there and why they were there. But actually, it's in constant flux, isn't it? There must be things still changing and affecting us now.
Linear time was created solely for the Galactic Ascension machine. It really didn't exist throughout the universe before that.
So how do these particular experiences that happen outside of linear time manifest in linear time in a way that's linear if they're happening all at the same time and at different times at the same time? If that makes any sense.
Through the programmable DNA skin suits unraveling of the 20% of the DNA that allows you access to the memories.
That's our importance. That's why we're here. Yeah.
That's the program to be resistance for your Earth. That's the program that allows you to get access to the memories that give you the greatest potentiality.
Wonderful.
Good question.
Thank you.
Any more good questions?
Well, Andrew, could you just say a couple more words on that?
On what
Just,
part?
just the very end of it. The accessing the memories of you were.
Have you listened to the DNA webinar, the DNA videos with me and Natalie?
I don't know, Andrew. I've listened to some with you and Natalie, but I don't remember for sure.
They're on the web page. They're on the page. There's two, DNA 1 and 2. That goes in depth into the 80-20 process. 80% of your DNA is memories from other I am lifetimes that are going to affect your blueprint of synchronicities in this lifetime. Now, the 20% of your DNA is how those memories can unpack as you are becoming an I am at a young age. Between birth and 2, your I am is still solidifying, and then the real I am doesn't solidify until you've had a massive release of hormones when you're going through your puberty stage, and that's where the thymus does its one and done process. Okay, and that's what solidifies the I am as a time-space equation. That's why they want to traumatize human beings before they reach that. It allows the separation of them and the creation of super negative dense beings who will follow narcissism and psychopathy versus the natural laws of love.
Would that mean that time era would be a time period that your dream space might be more vulnerable to?
Absolutely. That's what your parents' responsibility is, to have spiritual hygiene and keep your elements clean. But too many of the modern religions don't teach that or keep that as a part of their general ideology.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was asking because during that time frame from about then till the mid-30s, I mean, so many psychic dreams and horrible things and seeing all this pedophilia stuff. And I just kind of said, if I can't do anything about it, or if I don't understand it, I don't want to see it. So I've realized lately I've cut myself off there. So I was wondering how to reconnect that part up.
To the pedophilia?
Well, the dream time, I kind of shut my own dream time down, I think, because I kept having so many, I was dreaming about, I kept seeing co-eds taken, I was seeing horrible pedophilia stuff going on, a lot of what I see in the news today, and I didn't understand why I was getting it and what was going on, so.
Is this underage or is this recent?
The dreams? The dreams I started having when I was a teenager, and they lasted until about mid-30s when I said I didn't want to have them anymore.
So that was a future self coming back, influencing a past self.
Oh, wow.
Purposely shut you down so that you have a set of experiences. And then when you started to see the pedophilia concepts show up on Facebook, et cetera, that was the great lesson. Were you going to keep it shut down or open up in a different way? Because that what you look back at you. And unfortunately, and a lot of people don't like this, like Trump didn't save the children. Trump didn't do jack shit when it comes to that. Pedophilia has been around in our society for a very, very long time. The Romans industrialized it. the Goths industrialized, whoever slave societies industrialized that whole concept. And it now it's far less than what it was 150 years ago. Rape laws were invented in the 1950s. Okay. So the whole concept of save the children is a mass psyop, just like the Q process. And I cannot tell you how many powerful healers and light workers that were doing good healing journeys, having scores of clients, destroyed themselves by overposting that stuff. And now I wouldn't let them touch me with a 29-foot pole. Okay, they've toxified themselves so much and become zealots and martyrs because they didn't realize they were radicalized.
Yeah.
And your journey is to stay is to understand whatever reason you were exposed to it at a young age, it's so you could have an awakening at another time. Because if you would have awoken with that in your energy, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Yeah.
With the potentiality of awakening, of having the much greater awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a good energy. I agree.
It wouldn't have been a good energy for you to go through the multidimensional awakening in.
No.
Yeah. But now you can still do it. You've got all this other education and wisdom behind you.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew.
And the importance also, Andrew, of the dream world clearing meditations.
Yes, yes. And to learn how to make your own version of that.
Yeah, and in the moment one as well, when things happen and arise, you can summon the strength to do something in the moment.
Specifically so you can begin to neuter your negative night terrors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Right. We have another thing here. Any questions?
Martina, this is for Armenia. You know, I challenge myself because I feel like we are like a human cow for the system in every way that we look for. However, I have this challenge because for me, it's like I see my revocation and it's like taking away everybody, nothing. I don't trust anything because I don't know who is behind, who is in the front. You know, I guess it would be like discerning really and trust that I have to work with because, you know, with all the material that I follow with Andrews, I get in this point that I don't feel like I can trust anything that is because I don't know who is using my energy, using my dream. I mean, I feel like I'm a jungle that every moment, every step that you do, you're going to get by for something. And it's like how I can discern that the moment that I'm looking for my sovereignty, universal truth, and my universal freedom. However, we had to think about that there's angel and there beings that are in the good way looking for helping us. However, in the moment, how can we discern like, okay, I can trust this one, you know, because we are just like a meat for a whole system. It's like a you know, how in the world, how we can balance that.
Yeah. I think in the beginning of our Zoom today, Andrew actually mentioned something along those lines. You get a sense of that, you know, it's almost like, you know, you can smell or, you know, you can perceive a certain, you know, you know when something feels off. Just think about yourself when you walk through the world now and you know, you walk by somebody and there's an energy that's a bit icky and stuff like that, you know. All that work is not for you to throw yourself into like, oh, I'm afraid of everything now. Is actually to start trusting yourself that you use the material, that you use the clearings, you know, and everything to fortify your reality. You become strong, and then, you know, remind yourself of the separation of density. The stronger you become, the more you fortify yourself and trust yourself, the less starting to get you're starting to attract that type of energy towards you.
Yes.
Is there anything else anybody wants to say on that? Does that help a little bit?
Yes, yeah. And my point is not that I'm afraid, just like who I can trust, you know. It's not I think afraid, it's who I can trust really, because
well, you have to trust yourself first. And as soon as you start trusting yourself without hesitation and doubt, that gets blown out of, because the rest is history, because as soon as you start trusting yourself, you will know whom else you can trust.
Yeah.
Does anyone wants to say anything?
When you adhere to your own moral code, when you have a moral code that's based on the longevity of your journey, then you can apply that moral code to every situation that you get in, and it doesn't really matter how other people really approach you. You just know when something's not right. You just feel it and you know it, and another person's moral code will become obvious to you as well, and you'll know when you're not compatible. There doesn't even have to be judgment,
Yeah.
So
yeah, because we're looking for unity. However, then in my step to looking for unity and then overcome the drama and all the sin that we have to fix in this mess that we have, then it's like my concern is like how open I am to, because I'm looking for resolve, and how open I am to helping myself first, and then to see how I can. It's like Andrew said, healing myself. I helping to heal the whole. Is the awareness, how much open I am to the whole, or just to concentrate on myself just right now.
Well, you shouldn't even be thinking about the whole. You shouldn't be thinking about the whole at this point in time, because the whole isn't in unity. If you want unity, it's going to be with yourself, and all of the pieces and parts that you have. That's what to work on. All of those things you're talking about, these programs of fear, all of these different programs that arise. Each one of those is a program within you that needs to be addressed. And so you don't observe the world like that, because the world, no matter what goes on, can be a perfect flow. It's just that your resistance to it, for the programs that arise to stop you from allowing yourself to just be in that flow.
Yeah.
Okay. So unity starts from within. Now, guys, sorry, I need to, because we've got Andrew and I don't want to, he's giving us his time here. So let's go back to the transcript. We're almost there. Do we have specific questions on the transcript? I have a question. Sean Hesman, please.
Yeah, what is false light and false light technology?
Do you have your own answer?
I've speculated. Is it like, cult leaders that dupe people? Is it?
Okay, false light and false light technology are a concept that were introduced here to dumb us down, trick us into believing skewed universal laws. So physical time travel technology that scrambles a human being's Schumann resonance so that they go on alternate timelines, and other forms of time travel technology that, like magnetic principles, attract you to a fake timeline. That's false technology, false light technology. False light beings manage the different technologies with artificial intelligences who are operating in a semi-sentient conscience, meaning they're having some form of a limited dream world that operates in the different false light city technology. So it allows them to create an infrastructure, a simulated infrastructure in which you get trapped into a sacred geometry system of reincarnation that is pure servitude. Now, I could give 27 hours of talk on false light, what it is. And there's many forms of technology, and there are many personalities who use technology, like cult leaders, et cetera, et cetera.
And again, I think in this particular, because we're using technology again, okay, so don't just get hung up on technology as such, for instance, I just want to mention, to expand on that subject, my walk-in was actually created through a dream time infestation is not a good word, is it, Andrew? Just dreamtime beings actually coming into my dream time and into my dreaming body. So it's almost like can we call it like a targeted individuals?
In your particular situation, there was a soul-based agreement in which many souls would come into a frequency of you and use an out-creation process in a microsecond in which the system wouldn't perceive what's going on. Think of it like a flash mob. You know what a flash mob is?
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly a bunch of people show up and start putting on a show, and the system's looking at the show, but not what actually the flash mob is doing.
So it was the system of domination and control finding me or something like that. And then my dreaming body had to do, plan B and actually get out. This is what actually triggered the walk-in.
Call in the flash mob, yes. Once you got spotted, it had to call in the flash mob.
Yeah. So that's part of that. Having said that, there's another example now of false light technology, which is blame, shame, and guilt. Yeah. So polarity, wherever, they try to get us into fear, drama, and trauma and everything, that is false light technology too.
Right.
So it's quite a broad thing to look at, and certainly something we can look at some stage.
Anything that's enhancing servitude.
Slavery. Yeah.
Well, their peak is servitude without question because you believe in them. They want you to become their god and pray to them, so they don't actually have to physically harvest Lush. You give it to them on a regular basis.
So here's a question. How do you spell Lush?
Lush.
And what is it?
Energy.
I get the energy of it, but I tried to find it as a meaning for it. I can't find it anywhere.
Terminology that was created about 7 years ago, and David Icke is the one that modernized it.
All right. Okay.
And the term from a guy that wrote some astral travel books. I forgot what his name was, but he's the one that described this particular energy that it's like crack cocaine for them. Or if you've ever seen the movie, what was the name of that movie? The one where they harvested Earth from all that energy and then people would go inside the water.
No, but
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter Ascending, yeah.
Jupiter Ascending, yes.
Ah.
Right, okay. All right. So that was my question.
And Andrew, sorry, can I buy in? Andrew, do they have that as physical assets like that?
Yes, they alchemize it into physical assets and trade it on off-world like a drug trade, yes.
That is not how I envisioned it. Wow. And there's gold used for that process as well.
Well, they'll put Lush into gold, and then that gold will have a higher value to it for alchemical purposes. Remember, everything's about transmuting one form of energy or matter into another form of energy and matter. And if that form of energy and matter has all that imprinted into it, when you transform it into something else, there's a greater potentiality of transformation or transmutation.
So if I had a spaceship and I had a shit ton of Lush, I could take it and sell it to a bunch of reptilians and they'd buy it off me and happily go off and they'd use it to fuel themselves and all of their technology.
Yeah, as long as they didn't try to roll you and take it from you like a drug.
I'm sure they would eat my head off in that moment, but
no, it would be like an El Chapo drug deal. Like, if you've ever seen Narcos in Colombia, it would be like that. Okay?
Yeah. We'd all be on edge.
Yeah, you'd all be on edge. If you're trying to transfer 25 tons of Lush,
So that falls nicely into the false light technology then too, sort of.
Well, yeah. Lush can also fund time travel technology. It can fund just about anything. It's a easily transmutable fuel.
Well, it's the new money, the galactic commerce market.
No, it's not. It's more like it's a commodity that allows very low-end technology beings to transform and transmute with their low-end technology to very high-end technological creations.
Right.
It means matter-to-matter transmutation.
I think Lush,
1 ounce of Lush could have 10 million volts in it, or 10 trillion volts in it. And you just got to learn to transfer that energy through the etheric realm.
I think Lush is demonstrated in Monsters Inc.
Yes, it is.
I don't feel targeted. I don't know what. It's a car booty. Good. Guys, last question. No, we've got 3 more questions, all right? Make them juicy, make them lushy. And please make them related to the transcript, all right? I have to bring you back. There's one thing where I have a question, I don't have a question, but that was in part of that. What about the control of our chakras? There are so many different species on Earth and they all have different amounts of chakras from none to 185. Does that bring up a question? Do you want to know anything about that?
What has none?
Stones.
Ah, there.
Like
color 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Yep. Amoebas.
Right. So when we talk 185, we're talking what color being would that be?
You wouldn't rate it via color. You would rate it, it's what its individuated purpose is. 185 is an elemental being, more than likely. But
right.
it doesn't be an elemental being.
Okay.
There are many beings who've created their own civilizations and societies, and it's a matter, are they going to interact with this reality, or is this reality attempting to parasitically take over the elemental realms, which a lot of negative magicians in the 1400s tried to do. That's really why the Celts fell.
Okay. So you were actually last time, I remember you saying at some stage, we're talking obviously about the 8th color of time, which is magenta, right? If you want to give it a, like
No,
a
not a color you've not experienced yet. We're literally like, that's a brand new color. It relates to no other color.
Say this again. We haven't experienced the 8th color. I thought we were starting to experience the 8th color.
But when you actually experience the 8th color, you will say to yourself, wow, I've never seen that color. It's a brand new, it relates to the color.
Yes. So I've heard you talk about the 9th color too. What color is that?
Another color that you've never seen before.
Well, yeah, but you obviously seen it. So what does it look like?
Can't describe it to you. It's undescribable. It's an experience.
Can you describe blue?
Yeah, can you describe blue?
Yeah.
Like try.
Water, like sky. It makes you feel, you know, expansive.
Not everyone sees the sky as blue.
All right. Now he's getting obnoxious. All right. Okay. Any questions?
Laws of observance.
All right. Okay. So, lovely people, have we covered transcript number 2? Are you all happy? Did you get a chance to speak? Do you still want to speak? Do you want to ask a question?
I want to ask one last one before he goes. So, Andrew, what I've been gleaning from the language that you used back in 2013, 2014, none of us really had a grip on until sort of recently, really, a lot of us. And it seems to say that the way that the narrative will fall away is it will become irrelevant. So what that actually means is that most of us are going to begin to experience, will it be just dream time, or we'll be able to go into a meditative state and experience other realities or project out into space? Because it seems like we'll be able to do it non-physically before we can physically. And that once those kind of experiences spread, that will make the narrative irrelevant.
So the non-physical experiences between now and the acknowledgement of the greater awakening is practice.
Right.
And once there is an acknowledgement, hey, this is the awakening in a general concept, learning how to take what you've practiced and doing it in the real world.
So you mean the mechanics of the awakening will begin before we have these greater experiences and these greater concepts?
Correct.
Oh, wonderful.
Mastery is so important.
Thank you.
And remember not to get lost in the practice of always being out there. You still got to,
Absolutely.
I learn and apply directly here.
Mhm.
Would you also say that the importance of embodiment is it really needs to be stressed here? Because I think, you know, if you think about it, you're bringing the light memories into the body, you need to actually bring them through to start materializing.
Well, technically you're not bringing them through, they're already inside you.
You activate, you're tapping into them.
It's more like they've been on a dimmer switch and you're turning the dimmer switch up.
But it has to unfold naturally, Andrew, yes? We mustn't force or try to make it happen. It just happens as we practice our own mastery and self-care, self-love, these experiences will arise naturally.
In general, but there's still a part of the practice that has an agenda and a strategy behind it. So the experience is charted by the apex of the I am who's trying to use self-illumination as their journey. And then there will be situations where you've got an on-purpose forced evolution situation in your reality where shit will just turn on. We hear these stories all the time where people's frequencies just turned on and they weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
But if they had listened to their dreams and realities before that, they could have begun preparing for it.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a little bit like anesthetized consciousness when once the, what do you call it, once the thing wears off and you start waking up again?
When anesthesia wears off and you wake up and
wears off. Yeah, the fog is lifting. Well, I think that will be a perfect note to finish for today, unless there is another pressing question. Okay, then that leaves me with much gratitude for Andrew to popping in today and really helping us out here. And I think, you know, we have to transcribe that and make it a really nice addition to the transcript number 2. Thank you very much for coming on and asking all these great questions and making this a really very cool Zoom, Earth Nouveau Zoom today. So thanks very much. And we see you all next week, Wednesday. And thanks
Thank you.
for popping
Thank
in.
you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew.
It's good seeing everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have
Bye.
a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Andrew,
Bye.
Martina, Alan, Carol, Amy.
Bye.